Hey, what's going on, everybody? Derek here. Welcome to the DA Perspective. And I'm chilling over here with Hector.
What's up, guys?
I want to give Hector a shout out for running the board for me today.
How are you guys doing?
Yeah. So today's show is going to be pretty jam-packed with coronavirus information. So, unfortunately, we're going through this pandemic at the moment, so it's pretty important to talk about it. That's definitely what I believe at the moment. I think there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of uncertainty, and there's a lot of misinformation. So I think if, at the least I can do something to help kind of alleviate that and just kind of share what I've found, what I've read. So I want to start with numbers. So let's actually go over the COVID website. Let's get an update on that. One of the things that's really kind of, it's nerve-wracking, but it's also incredibly interesting is over the course of, we're probably going to do this for about an hour today, this live stream. So I want you to kind of, in the back of your mind, either remember these numbers or actually what I'll do is I'll write it down. So right now we're looking at confirmed cases of 287,379, but that's a global number. And for reference, the gentleman, actually a 17-year-old kid came up with this website. We don't have the video queued up, but if you go look at Democracy Now's channel, you'll see an interview that they did with him. He basically created this website January, I believe, December, January. And when she asked him why he created it, he said that he just started noticing over in China that the cases were growing for this specific ailment. So then he realized that it was going to be bigger than what it was. So he created this a long time ago. And that's something we'll go over as well later on. We'll talk about the information that was available to not only our government, but other governments initially that could have changed the way that this is being handled now. But as much as I want to talk about how things are being handled now, I kind of want to just, figure out how can we go forward, right? What are the best things that we can do to kind of protect ourselves, protect our loved ones, and, each other, right? So back to this COVID live map. If you could see on the top right, USA over there. That's the number that I really want to focus on. Is there a way to make that one bigger? No, that's okay. No worries. So what's the number on that USA right there? 14. Yeah, total confirmed. 19,459. Okay, so I'm going to 19,459. I'm going to write that down for USA. And then total for the globe is 287,379. So what we'll do is we'll check back in with this periodically, and ideally you'll be able to kind of see in real time how these numbers are spiking. What I was going to say was this website is updated every minute. The reason why I brought up the creator was he's pulling the information for this website directly from government websites across the world. Well, the ones that he has listed here. So it's whatever official numbers are being reported by local governments. That's what's being populated here. So, regardless of what you believe, this is what governments are saying is happening. It could be underreported. It could be overreported. But these are the numbers that we have to go by. I want you to take note, though, if you can see on the bottom or where China's at, there's a blue bar under it. That's the recovered rate. So as you can see, China is way ahead of the curve, 89% comparative to other countries. And that's obviously because it was, the center of the outbreak. But there was a lot of measures that they took that substantially alleviated the problem really quickly. I don't know if anybody's heard. We can go back to main screen. I don't know if anybody or if any of you all had read about it or heard about it, but they were able to basically mobilize a force, a workforce, a relief force, if you will. They were able to mobilize these people and effectively build. They weren't full-on hospitals, but they were, they were centers. They were beds, right? So they were basically pop-up hospitals, if you will. The name of them escapes me now, but they basically were able to build these things in 2 weeks for all these incredibly ill people. So, in contrast to what's happening with us now, it's kind of, we maybe should have better paid attention to what was going on over there, and then we could have moved on in a different way. So I want to get into, and this is not meant to be a Trump bashing thing. It's the reality that our administration is led our administration and our government is led by this individual. So I feel it prudent to highlight how it's being handled, right? So that, again, we can kind of discuss and figure out ways to alleviate our own stress, kind of come to a place where we can figure out for ourselves with the guidance of knowledgeable leaders, how to best go about the next, some people are saying up to 2 months, right? So, but for sure to go about our next few days here. So can we cue up the Trump lashes out video? So to preface this is Donald Trump in a press conference. I believe this was yesterday, or yesterday, the day before. It was yesterday. A reporter asked him a very simple question. And the simple question is, what will you tell the American people who are feeling this way? They're feeling scared, they're uncertain. We expect our government officials and it's our leaders in general, like even in your workplace, right? I mean, when we're talking about people, on the front lines today, like people at grocery stores, right? Like these people are looking for guidance from their leaders to console them and give them a sense of safety, and just like inner peace through this tumultuous time. So for sure, from the top, from the number one person in the nation that has the most power, we expect that. And in true Trump fashion, we got something entirely different. So if you want to cue up that clip.
See what happens. We have nothing to lose. You know the expression? What the hell do you have to lose? Okay?
So what do you say to Americans who are nearly 200? I'll just follow up.
John, go
200
ahead.
dead. What do you say to the Americans who are scared, though? I guess nearly 200 dead, 14,000 who are sick, millions, as you witnessed, who are scared right now. What do you say to Americans who are watching you right now who are scared?
I say that you're a terrible reporter. That's what I say. Go ahead. I think it's a very nasty question, and I think it's a very bad signal that you're putting out to the American people. The American people are looking for answers, and they're looking for hope. And you're doing sensationalism, and the same with NBC and Comcast. I don't call it Comcast. I call it Concast. Let me just for whom you work. Let me just tell you something. That's really bad reporting. And you ought to get back to reporting instead of sensationalism. Let's see if it works. It might and it might not. I happen to feel good about it, but who knows? I've been right a lot. Let's see what happens, John.
Can I get back to the science and the logistics?
You're going to be ashamed of yourself.
So yeah, definitely not. I don't even know how to. I mean, I know how I want to react to that, right? But I'm trying to figure out like what's the most productive. What's the most productive way to move on from that? And like again, I think it's very frustrating that especially now, like we need someone in that position that doesn't do that. Like that is not the answer. He literally contradicted himself while he was supposed to be answering the question. The guy said, "What would you tell the American people?" And he's like, "You're a bad reporter." First of all, that is not the answer. And then second of all, he said the American people want answers. They want to feel safe. They need information. Well, you were literally just given an opportunity to do that in that instance, and you declined for whatever reason. So that's getting kind of old. And I hope that as time goes on, because I want what's best for the nation, I want our leaders to succeed, whether I personally care for them or not. So I hope in the future that he changes his rhetoric. However, history usually dictates what's going to happen next. So history has told us that he's probably not. So moving on from that, let's check out. Okay, so moving on to the next story. I don't know how many of you watch Fox News. I consume news from all media outlets because I believe that in order for me to make the most informed decision that I'm comfortable with, I need as much input, information, and data as possible. So I watch things that I don't agree with all the time. And that's not to say I don't always agree with, or that I never agree with Fox News. I will say that I mostly don't agree with a lot of things that are on there, but there are like moments of clarity, and that's fine. They're human, right? So they, but I watch Fox News from time to time, as I watch other news outlets, independent journalists, and all kinds of stuff. When this coronavirus was kind of coming into the public domain, as far as the media was concerned, like when they started covering coronavirus, right? This was maybe a month or so ago when they actually started running little segments about it. Fox News specifically I remember, I think even like someone in the administration, if not the president itself, tried to. First of all, they tried to downplay it. I heard rumors of it being a Democratic hoax, other form of theories as to where it came from. Obviously, people believe that it's being blown out of proportion, and things to that effect, right? So basically, not giving it any respect for being what we now know of it to be, right? So there was tons of warning signs, to include, the United States being offered test kits for this virus by, I believe, the World Health Organization, because they had developed test kits that were effective and already being put in use in other parts of the world. But because our administration, they just stubborn, I guess is probably the right word. They said, no, we'll develop our own. And here we are now. Shortage of test kits. And the ones that they created, that they spent a lot of money on, didn't work. So, and I think one of the recent reports was that Italy, for everything that they're dealing with now, they actually sent us test kits recently. And I think you might be able to, if you could do a quick search on a browser after you queue up this next clip, if you can, find that number of how many test kits that Italy sent us. I'll just pull it up here, then I'll just spit out the number. But so let's go to what I want to show. I can't remember who put this video together, but they basically show the contrasting rhetoric from when Fox News was kind of downplaying the virus, saying it was nothing, it was a hoax, that we don't have to worry about it, whatever, to now, where this is real, take care of yourself, all this stuff. And I want to show this because I want you all to understand how manipulative is the actual word, because that's what the media is doing. They want you to buy into their narrative, and they want you to kind of mostly do what they say for you to do, as opposed to being informative and journalistic and having integrity with what they're talking about. So I want you to see how quickly the media will change what the narrative based upon what's happening around them that they actually can't control. So go ahead and cue up the Fox News clip.
For the media to spin a narrative that this sell-off and this virus are all a result of President Trump, it's just wrong. But unfortunately, I guess they needed someone to blame. They were looking for someone to blame. They want to blame him for literally anything they can.
On the left, you've heard them tell you that the real worry is that you might use the wrong word to describe what's happening to the country. It's racist, they're telling you, to blame the most racist nation in the world for the spread of this virus. Right.
Look, bad things happen, and this virus is one of them. But setting off panic around the world is not the answer. We need to calm everything down, propose smart legislation will help do that.
I'm sure in the end, the mob and the media, well, they will be advancing their new conspiracy theory and their newest hoax. Probably they'll come up with, hypothetically, I'm just guessing, wouldn't shock me, President Trump, Putin, mad scientists in Russia, Ukraine are manufacturing the coronavirus on purpose so they can hurt innocent children and kill grandma and grandpa before they throw them over a cliff, before they feed them dog food.
Hate is boiling over, many in the liberal media using, and I mean using, coronavirus in an attempt to demonize and destroy the president. This is impeachment all over again.
People you trust, people you probably voted for, have spent weeks minimizing what is clearly a very serious problem. It's just partisan politics, they say. Calm down. In the end, this is just like the flu, and people die from that every year. Coronavirus will pass, and when it does, we will feel foolish for worrying about it. That's their position. But they're wrong. The Chinese coronavirus is a major event. It will affect your life. And by the way, it's definitely not just the flu.
Yeah, and I don't even have to explain that, right? Like, that's like literally within hours, right? They went like full 180. So that's a little unfortunate. So going forward, the reason why I wanted to show you that is because going forward, I want you to take what you hear on the news with a grain of salt. I'm not saying that it's all false or fake news and all that. I just want you to understand that the media has an agenda. The reality is that right now the media is controlled by six entities from hundreds from hundreds down to six. 6 entities now control all media. I'm talking TV, radio, billboards, right? Like billboards that you see while you're driving, like it's all controlled by 6 entities. And yeah, they may all have different names, right? Different, subsidiaries and all that stuff. But when you go up that chain and you find like the origins of where it's all coming from, it's 6 entities. So remember that. It's very easy for them to consolidate their message and then disseminate it. You guys remember that? You remember that Sinclair Broadcasting? Remember the one with all the local news where they were all, remember that? Yeah. I sent you that link. Were you able to pull that up on go into the Gmail? See if you could pull up the Italy link. So yeah, again, everything that you hear is not always necessarily true. That's okay. Try refreshing that. All right, don't worry about it. Okay, so I wanted to show that. Yep, so can you pull it up in a browser? Wanted to go over the Italy numbers. So apparently Italy, and I don't know how many of you watched the Biden-Bernie Sanders debate recently. Biden made a comment about the Italian healthcare system because it's a Medicare4All type system. He was saying that it was failing, and that's why Italy was in a crisis. Go all the way up so we can see the whole headline, please. There you go. So as you can see, this was from 3 days ago, I believe. 3/18. Let's say. Yep, 3 days ago. The Air Force moves 500,000 coronavirus test swabs from Italy to the U.S. Such a failing system. Failure all around. Yeah, they're being hit by a pandemic right now, right? And yeah, the healthcare system is being strained and stressed at the moment. But there's a lot of reports and a lot of opinions after, analysis of what's happening actively now that's saying that their Medicare4All type of system is the only reason why Italy is still like being held up. It's almost like controlled chaos as opposed to actual like anarchy chaos. So something to think about. Okay, so let's queue up. I want to shift gears here to how people are reacting. I know a lot of people are kind of doing some really strange things right now. The whole toilet paper thing, I don't understand. I don't. Nope. Okay, so I personally have a bidet. Full disclosure, I don't need toilet paper. Like y'all can have it, but I don't know why you're hoarding it. I don't know why you're like taking it all. Can't eat it. Can't build anything with it. You can literally only wipe your ass with it. So I don't know. But there's no shortage of anything. Supply chains have not been shut down. Food is still going to be in full supply. Obviously, like paper goods, like toilet paper and paper towels they're not in short supply, but there is now going to be a delay getting them to the stores because everyone took the ones. Like they couldn't anticipate that demand. So, but they're coming back too. Like that manufacturing capacity for those things has not diminished to the level that people need to be hoarding. So you hear these words, please stop hoarding. There is no shortage. And this is not just some guy in his crib saying it. Like Lori Lightfoot, our mayor, just said that yesterday to the entire city of Chicago, because we're all pretty confident that their supply chain has not been hindered. So let's go to a video from it's from Los Angeles, but it's showing a Costco.
Big box store and no more hoarding. We're told to crack down on shoppers who buy too much.
Yeah, Costco implements new restrictions as the state is ordered to stay home. Tonight, KCAL 9 Inland Empire reporter Nicole Comstock is live with the details. Nicole?
Yeah, Susie and Jeff, for the past week or so, it's been really hard to find things like water, toilet paper, and Lysol at a lot of different stores in town. And of course, Costco has been one of the biggest hotspots for those items because you can buy in bulk here. Well, now the company won't let a lot of people make those returns if they bought too much. Shopping carts are still stacked high at Costco's across the Southland. But customers here in Chino Hills say buying in bulk during the COVID-19 crisis is starting to run a little bit smoother.
It was fine. This is my second time coming within the last 2 hours.
But before you rush to judgment, Cheryl is here again to help, not to hoard.
Yes, I had to call my sister, see what she needed. Yes. I'm a good sister.
A sign in front of the store says they're currently out of 13 essential food and hygiene items. That's why the company is cracking down on coronavirus panic purchasing. In Montclair, they're using pellets, traffic cones, and construction netting to line people up outside and control the crowds inside. Costco's are also limiting the amount of essential items customers can purchase and prohibiting returns of recently hoarded items like toilet paper, paper towels, sanitizing wipes, water, rice, and Lysol.
They shouldn't take returns. They overbought.
It kind of puts them in their place. Like, you can't be doing that. You know, taking advantage of people during a national crisis.
Tina and Robert Kinder feel like stricter rules earlier on by stores and government officials would have significantly eased the transition into this historic pandemic.
And it's been a bit difficult, a bit challenging.
But this family says it's all going to work out if we look out for one another and respect new rules during this uncertain time.
I think it's just important to be family time right now. Stay home.
Cool. Yeah, should we get there? But yeah, a couple things from that, right? Obviously, people, like I said, people are hoarding a bunch of supplies that they don't need to be hoarding. But I also wanted you to hear kind of what the people were saying themselves, like about the lack of information and the lack of instruction, which on the ground level, people are attributing to the reason why others are freaking out and buying everything up. And it's like a snowball, you know, it's a mass effect kind of thing, you know. You got a small group of people that start going and grabbing everything, and then everyone else is like, well, like herd mentality, like I need to be doing that too. And so, you know, be very mindful about your actions and kind of the waves that you can create in the world. So this one, like, I don't know, this next video, it kind of like, I don't know how to, it's upsetting, but like, I'm not 22 years old anymore. Right. So I don't even know how I would have responded at that time. But it's upsetting that they're not listening to what others are saying. So go ahead and show this next tape. This next tape is another group of individuals who, because they don't have the right information, are making very uninformed decisions.
If I get corona, I get corona. At the end of the day, I'm not going to let it stop me from partying. You know, we've been waiting for Miami spring break for a while. About 2 months we've had this trip planned. 2-3 months. So we're just out here having a good time. Whatever happens, happens.
Like, it's really messing up with my spring break.
So because you planned this 2 months ago, doesn't matter what's going on with the world, we still have to do it. You plan it.
What is there to do here other than go to the bars or the beach, and they're closing all of it? It's really messing. I think they're blowing it way out of proportion. I think it's doing way too much.
Doing us bad. We need a refund. This virus ain't that serious. It's serious. It's more serious things out there like hunger and poverty, and we need to address that.
Pause it.
Yeah.
Like, if everybody's dead, how do we address it, right? Obviously, not everyone's going to die from coronavirus, but I think, like, you know, again, I may be picking a fight with people I shouldn't be picking a fight with, right? Because they're young and maybe they just don't know any better. But clearly, right, like, that's not the right sentiment to have right now. Like, there's far better things. Like, this is the thing, among other things, for sure. But this is the most imminent thing right now that stands to get its fingers into all parts of our society and just disrupt it all. So,
I mean, we planned this a long time ago, and it was kind of up in the air if we still go, but like, we're here. I just turned 21 this year, so I'm here to party, so it's kind of disappointing, but we're just making the most of it. We met these other people in our little Airbnb spot, so we're just hanging out with them and trying to get drunk before everything closes.
I mean, it sucks, but we're gonna make the best of it. We're enjoying ourselves. It sucks, and I'm from New Orleans, so this really sucks. However, we're gonna enjoy ourselves. We having day parties all day. It's my birthday, St. Patrick's Day. Turn up.
We're just trying to roll with we're just living for the moment. We're just gonna do what happens when it happens. When stuff closes, we're gonna do it when it closes. But besides that, we're just trying to have the best trip we can.
yeah. So again, I think one of the most important things you can do right now is to think about other people first and then yourself second. I think it's that simple. And if you put yourself in that mind frame, all the decisions that you make over the next, like I said, some are saying upwards of 2 months, 3 months, I think they'll all be kind of on the right side of history, those decisions, if you make them with other people in the forefront of your decision-making process. Because again, this isn't about you, right? So yeah, you may need to go out to the store and do whatever, right? But think about, do you live with your grandparents, or, you know, like, do you have contact with young children? Like, just make the decisions for their benefit, not for your own. And there's a tape from Florida I wanted to show too. That's another one of kind of like how people are reacting to this thing. So this one is from a local city government, and one of the individuals on that elected board has some choice words to say to, I believe it's the mayor of the small town. And again, it kind of shows, I wanted to show you this because I wanted to highlight not only the inaction, but just to see like a little piece of how some governments work when they're not given the correct guidance from above. So go ahead and cue that one.
Can we do better? There's always things that pop up that we can do better on, and I call the question.
I'm sorry, that's not how this works. We each have an opportunity to speak 5 minutes.
I thought we did.
Yeah, the question's
No,
been
I'm
called.
sorry. No, I'm sorry.
We've been
And that's not how calling the question works. You need a second, and you need to vote on it.
Then I have a second for calling
So
the
are
question.
you telling me that you're going to keep me from talking right now?
You've talked all evening.
Look here. You're calling me disrespectful because I've interrupted people, but this gentleman has turned off people's lights in the middle of a global health pandemic. That's what that gentleman did.
Point of order.
And you think I'm disrespectful for interrupting you?
Point of order.
This gentleman has
Point
had the ability
of
to do any
order.
number of things.
Point
We
of
could have
order.
banned large gatherings. We could have closed the beach. We could have put a moratorium on
I recessed the
utility
meeting.
shutoffs.
I recessed.
Also not within your power, and the attorney has held that that's true.
I recessed the meeting.
You came up with new rules at the beginning of the meeting, and then you didn't even want to follow the rules that you came up with.
And you took advantage.
This is a banana republic is what you're turning this place into with your so-called leadership.
Does a recess mean that we will be?
Yes.
Camera on that?
I don't care anything about this.
camera on that?
I don't care anything about this.
Does
We
it-
should have been talking about this last week.
Can we?
We cut off people's utilities this week and made them pay what could have been their last check to us to turn their lights on in a global health pandemic. But you don't care about that, and you didn't want to meet. But every other year, you go around and beg people for their votes.
Can we explain
But
the
you care
recess?
more about your relationship with that guy than you care about the relationship with the people who don't go to work in this building.
Order! You were done. You're done. You're done. Disrespect.
It's disrespectful is what you've done to the working people in the city.
I didn't do anything.
You failed to act.
I didn't do anything.
When you're a leader, you failed to act. You said you didn't do anything. You failed to act. When you had an opportunity.
Party for State House.
I don't care anything about that. Do you think anybody cares?
Does a recess mean that we can?
You cut up. So, yeah, I mean, this is a truly important time, and you know, you can debate whether his words were the right choice or whatnot, but you can see the difference in the passion of leaders, right? So one individual is mindful of the people and the policies that need to be enacted by that governing body to protect those people. And if you didn't hear him, he called her out for taking money from the people to pay their utility bills. Some municipalities, the local municipality owns the utilities, so they pay the city, and not like ComEd or an electric company in your area. So what he was saying was, you know, you had the power to take action, but you didn't. And it's funny because she even acknowledged that. She said, I didn't do anything. Well, yeah, that's exactly the problem. And then because pride, it looked like a little ego got in the middle of the mix, that she just couldn't succumb to his truths. And so you're out of order and whatever. But that's frustrating to see. And that's happening all over the country right now, right? And again, it stems from the top, right? What do they say? They say a fish sinks from the head, right? Our head is our president, and that person is not working with the right government agencies right now to disseminate the right information. I mean, this whole thing has been jacked from the beginning. So that's frustrating. All right. So let's shift gears to another story, developing story out of this whole coronavirus outbreak. These are the kind of stories that just really chap my hide. I have my personal beliefs about how our economy works and just unfettered capitalism in general. And to see stories like this come out, especially now, I mean, because this happens all the time, but to see it happen right now is just like literally the most vile thing that I can think. Well, not the most vile thing, but one of the most vile things that I think our elected officials, our leaders in Congress could do to us, the American people. Because what these people are going to do, or what I'm going to show you in this next clip that these people have done, is they've thought about themselves first, and they thought about you probably like fifth, to be honest. But they came first. And who knows what was in between you and them? Maybe their kids, maybe their Maserati outside, or their third home, or whatever it is. Who knows? So go ahead and play the clip about Tucker Carlson, the resign clip.
So you may have seen the news reports this afternoon. The chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee sold more than $1 million in stock in mid-February after learning how devastating the Chinese coronavirus could be. He had inside information about what could happen to our country, which is now happening, but he didn't warn the public. He didn't give a primetime address. He didn't go on television to sound the alarm. He didn't even disavow an op-ed he'd written just 10 days before claiming America was, quote, better prepared than ever for coronavirus. He didn't do any of those things. Instead, what did he do? He dumped his shares in hotel stocks so he wouldn't lose money. And then he stayed silent. Now, maybe there's an honest explanation for what he did. If there is, he should share it with the rest of us immediately. Otherwise, he must resign from the Senate and face prosecution for insider trading. There is no greater moral crime than betraying your country in a time of crisis. And that appears to be what happened. We'll have more on the story tomorrow.
Yeah, so there was definitely more on that story the next day. So let's go ahead and play the next clip of it should be the Fox 5. And again, I didn't mean for this to be a whole like Fox News kind of thing. It's just how this worked out for this week. Yeah. So, and I will say though, before you cue up that clip, like Tucker Carlson, I don't know if you know about him or whatnot, for whatever you think about him. I have a hard time with this dude because he says things that I'm just like, what are you talking about? And then other times he says things like, I'm like, whoa, are you like a normal person? So, I would actually recommend that you watch him from time to time because he has these moments of clarity that we need from all sides, right? The problem right now, again, we're also split up. We have our left and our right. There's no in between or whatever. Well, the in between is the things that we can agree on. And so I hope that we can all agree that senators using insider information to dump their stocks before the economy tanks because they know impending doom is coming. I hope that we all can agree on that, and that's the middle ground that we latch on to now and we don't let go of after this whole coronavirus thing goes away. Let's play the Fox 5 blasting.
Welcome back. It's a congressional stock scandal. 4 U.S. senators now under fire for selling off millions of dollars worth of stocks in the days before the coronavirus crashed the American economy. Democrat Dianne Feinstein and Republicans Richard Burr, Kelly Loeffler, and James Inhofe all dumped assets following a reportedly classified all-senators briefing at the end of January. Now, all 4 of the senators are denying any wrongdoing, and Senator Burr is calling for an ethics review of his own actions. Senator Loeffler was grilled this morning by Fox's Ed Henry on America's Newsroom.
You thought the government was prepared, yet shortly after that tweet that I just noted, you sold over $1 million in stocks in your own personal portfolio before the market went down. Were you trading on inside information about what was coming?
Well, I'm really glad you asked, Ed, because I do want to set the record straight. I've seen some of those stories, and it's absolutely false, and it could not be true. So if you actually look at the personal transaction reports that were filed, it notices at the bottom that I'm only informed of my transactions after they occur, several weeks.
Pause it. Okay, so she said she got a briefing about coronavirus, then these stocks were dumped, and now she's being asked about it. She says at the bottom of my personal filing, the filing that she turned over, that's the individual, like the buying on her behalf. First of all, she said there's no way There's no way that that could have happened. What do you mean there's no way? You were told about the information and then the stocks got sold. The stocks got sold. Of course, there's a way that you could have told the people handling your account. And you'll hear too, I think they'll say it later on in this as well, that the response that they're getting from some of these elected officials is, well, it's part of a fund. Other people manage it for me. They were the ones making the moves. Well, you know what? That's fine. Maybe you should have called them and said, hey, right? Don't make these trades. I think you would be better served. And that may be illegal too, to be honest with you. I don't know the law on that. But I don't think there's a court in this country that would prosecute you for not making a trade because you knew the market was going to go down, right? Like, because you said, I don't do anything, meaning don't do anything because it will look bad if I sell them. Don't buy anything. Don't sell anything. Just leave it alone because it's not right for you to make a trade after I've had this briefing. That's a conflict of interest. Those are ethics violations, right? So it could have happened. They could have, I mean, play the clip.
So, I mean, it's hard to make sense of all of this. So let me just start by asking you, Jesse, is this serious? In the Loeffler case, it's also an issue that not only did she sell stuff, but then she bought stuff. And one of the items she bought was to help people who have to work at home, software. What do you think?
It looks
There you go. So they bought and sold, right? So they sold the shit that was gonna crash, and then she bought the shit that was gonna be used to help fix all the problems. So you tell me. You're smart, right? You have a brain. You tell me.
really bad. All four of them have different levels of sketchiness. I'll start with the least sketchy. Inhofe says he was never even at the briefing on the virus and said he's been moving money from stocks to mutual funds for the last 2 years. He sold the least amount of stock. Feinstein says, you know what? It was a blind trust. It was my husband's doing. I wasn't even at the briefing on the virus either. And it was just one company, but it was $6 million in a biotech company. We don't really know much else about that. Now, Loeffler, her husband's the chairman of the New York Stock Exchange. Yeah. She sold these stocks on the day of the briefing, right after it happened. And like you said, not only did she sell a lot of stocks, she bought a stock which benefits from a software that helps teleworking, people that work from home. It doesn't look very good. Perfectly timed. Also perfectly timed, Richard Burr liquidated almost his entire portfolio. And he has all the intel because he's the top intel guy in the Senate. And he was telling people privately that this pandemic was going to be as bad as the 1918 Spanish flu pandemic. Also perfectly timed right before the market dropped. And he said, oh, well, I traded it because I saw some news on CNBC. I think everybody needs to be investigated and treated fairly, but a really bad look.
Emily, Senator Burr says simply, you know what, it wasn't my actions, even if you were to try to put them together. The fact is, he says he had no special intelligence, although he's the chairman of the Intelligence Committee. He says everything that...
Chairman of the Intelligence Committee, no special intelligence. I mean, that's definition of an oxymoron.
He did was based on public reports. What do you think?
Right. He said, I only listened to CNBC covering the Asia markets. Look, in my opinion, to kind of go off of Jesse's ranking of the outlaws, the top two are the worst. And Senator Burr's is the worst by far. It's worse than Loeffler. And here's why. Because his reported net worth 2 years ago was $1.7 million. And as you just said, he sold off between $600,000 and $1.7 million. So nearly all of his reported net worth. And of course, the disparity between his public and his private comments and his vote in 2012 against a rule in Congress banning insider trading. Yeah. It obviously raises a lot of questions. And Loeffler, by the way, her reported net worth is $500 million. And the most she reportedly sold off was $3.1 million. So that's less than 1%. She has the same defense that Feinstein does, which is, I didn't know about it. I learned about it weeks after. You know, Feinstein says it's in a blind trust. Other people do it for me. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So again, just all BS. All BS. All right. Well, again, you decide for yourself. Did these people use their office, use the powers of their office to benefit themselves, meaning they're a part of briefings that the general public is not a part of. They're privy to information that you and I are not privy to, and then they acted on it. So, okay, so let's go into socialism. Buzzword, right? Socialism. So, funny thing, right? For the past probably year, right? We've been hearing...
You've essentially shut down...
It's okay. We've been hearing we can't do Medicare4All. We've been hearing we can't do UBI. We've been hearing we can't do student debt relief programs. We've been saying we need to cut other social safety nets. Like, just, there's no money. No money. But we also saw the formation of a Space Force. We saw lots of money get funneled to lots of projects that don't really benefit all of us in general. So, in saying that, every time one of the Democratic nominees, or sorry, one of the individuals vying for the Democratic nominee, Bernie Sanders, every time this individual brought up the programs that he's presenting, the question was, how are we going to pay for it? Right? We can't do it because there's no money. How are you going to pay for it, Bernie? How are you going to pay for it, Bernie? Well, you know what? Can any one of you, can you, Hector, can anyone tell me, has anyone asked that in the past 2 weeks for anything that's come out? This whole $2,000 for everyone in your pocketbook, the $50 million that the airlines asked for, that the proposal that the Congress actually put up, or that the administration actually put up, upped it to $150 billion for the airlines. Not one word. How are we going to pay for this? Not one word.
You've essentially shut down a modern economy or large parts of it overnight, and you.
Yeah, that's okay. I wasn't ready to play it, but Hector's fucking trigger happy right now. He hit it twice. So yeah, I want to go into this video again. Another Fox News video. I'm not trying to do the Fox News thing. It's just the clips that I pulled that were pertinent to this. In the future, I'll do a little more switching it up so that it doesn't just look all like this. But this is basically on Fox News, and this individual is talking about Andrew Yang, and UBI, Universal Basic Income. For those who don't know, one of his presidential policies that he was championing was for universal basic income, which his version was $1,000 every month for every year, and it was for every individual that was over the age of 18. And his reasoning was mostly about the automation of jobs, but it was also as a social safety net for when people fall on hard times. And look at us now, right? Very hard times for a lot of people, especially for, want to give a shout out to all the service industry people who are feeling it the most right now, or part of the people that are feeling it the most right now. These are the people who are affected in the most negative ways because they're not salaried. They don't work downtown Chicago. They don't work downtown New York. They don't have salaried pay to where every 2 weeks or however they get paid, that money's coming in, right? So that was the argument for universal basic income. And so let's play this clip as to why now, because the president and everyone is saying, well, we need to give a stimulus. We need to give money to people. They don't have money. It needs to come from the government. So they're like, $2,000, right? How are you going to pay for it? Doesn't matter. Let's give the people $2,000, right? Well, that's socialism. Nah, it's not socialism. No. Wait, but you're giving us something for free. We're not doing anything for it. You're just giving it to us. Nope, not socialism. Okay, yeah. Well, whatever makes you sleep at night. So go ahead and play this clip.
You've essentially shut down a modern economy or large parts of it overnight, and you need to quickly make individuals who have no income solvent and liquid so they have money to pay their bills, pay their utilities, pay their rent, buy food. If you don't act with speed and scale, to borrow words from the Wall Street Journal, you're going to turn a deep recession into something, a long-lasting financial crisis that will look like the Great Depression. So for Steve Mnuchin to throw out 20% unemployment, there's a forecast from J.P. Morgan out saying that the second quarter economy in this country is going to contract 14%. So that is Great Depression levels if you don't start literally sending checks to people. We're not talking about $1,000. We're talking about $2,000. Send it to the people who need it, who are out of work. This is what saves us from something catastrophic.
So, Dana, when you hear about this, again, coming back to the politics of it, and Dagan says, you know, bailouts for certain industries, and then we come to this idea in this next wave that the president's calling for, potentially sending checks to individuals, especially, as Dagan said, those who may have lost a job or, you know, I don't know if they not only lose a job, but maybe they've lost their business.
Yep.
So the question becomes, you know, do you think this is realistic? Do you think the American people would support it?
I think they're not going to have a choice. I think that, look, I think people come together and they do the right thing. And this is a little bit different to me. Like, if you think back to 2008 and to Dagan's point, I mean, that fight was horrendous. And I was there at the White House at the time, and you had everybody fighting, and everybody's mad because you were bailing out Wall Street. Understood. Nobody wants to bail out Wall Street, but the banks were insolvent. Right now, the banks are okay. It's actually people who need help. This is actually the man on the street, the man on the farm, the man in the small town. All of these people are going to need help. And I would just be for doing something really big and also really fast and showing that.
Okay. So many things. Really big, really fast. All of a sudden, we can do these things really big, really fast. You know what's really big? Medicare4All. You know what's really big? How about student debt relief? Those are really big. Those are things that affect people. And you know what? Everyone that says, like, it can't be done, you know, all this stuff, look at how fast this is all happening. And again, not one person. We're going to go back to this clip. They're not going to ask one time how any of this is going to be paid for. And this is a one-time injection of this. Right? So you know what happens if this doesn't work? If I'm not, they do it again. They'll have to do it again. I was trying to think because I remember, how many of you guys were old enough when Bush sent us those checks? You guys remember that? Like a couple $100. It was like the 600. I don't know. I think I got like $600 or something. You have to do it again if it doesn't work the first time. So instead of having to do this periodically when these things happen, if we already have these programs in place, the safety nets already exist, maybe it'll be a little less intense for people when they need it. Go ahead and finish that clip.
That the federal government is going to be the backstop, because we will get through this and we'll be stronger on the other side of it. But in the meantime, when you have to help people, I don't think it will be a problem getting these bills through. It's going to hurt to look at the deficit numbers. That's going to be something we'll have to commit to and figure out. But saving people's day-to-day lives.
So now the deficit is something that we'll just have to look into and figure out. Can't pay for Medicare4All, though. Can't figure that one out. That's a non-starter, right? But for this, for anything else that they want to throw out, let's start the Space Force. Let's balloon the defense budget $150 billion from $500 to $750. That's what Trump and his administration just did recently.
If we're going to do all of this for the health of people, then of course we have to do everything to help for their economic health on the other side.
Weren't we making fun of this, though, when Andrew Yang suggested something like it was socialism?
No. No.
When he was saying send $1,000 to everyone?
No, I mean, there are people who think that universal base income is actually a pretty good idea. I don't think of it as necessary socialism, especially if you look at it in Alaska, how they give back money. But there'll be plenty of time to figure it out. But to Dagan's point, $1,000 for people who really, they're going to need more than that.
I agree.
You know how they do it in Alaska? They're just residents of Alaska, and then they get money. So that's no different than this. We're residents of the United States. We're citizens of the United States. They're about to send us some money, right? And it's not even that it's like not already our money, right? Like, we pay. I think, like, as I've gotten older, I've realized that, like, we pay so much in taxes. And I'm not saying that, like, how do I say this? I just don't feel like the return on that civic duty is kind of balanced, right? You look around, our roads are crumbling, all this infrastructure talk. I mean, we have bridges that are in dire need of repair. And so, yeah, we're kind of owed what we've already paid for. I mean, that's my belief, right? And what we're going to continue to pay for. Because, as much as everyone hates paying taxes, and I get it, it's a necessary thing, right? None of, when I was at an economics course at DePaul, and I remember the professor, his name escapes me, and so apologies for that if you ever see this. But he said in economics, there's no free lunch, right? That the resources to make this thing happen have to come from somewhere, right? So this UBI program, this stimulus check or checks or however they're going to send it out to us, this money has to come from somewhere, right? And so unfortunately, our government has been running at a deficit for a long time, pretty much since after Clinton left, because I think Clinton was the last president that had a surplus. We've been running at a deficit for sure. I think we had a surplus, and then 9/11 hit. Bush, we went right. Iraq, Afghanistan. You know the deal. So we've been running at a deficit since then. Please correct me if I'm wrong. And so yeah, we're paying into the system. Our government. We have very little say on how our money gets spent. And so these individuals are running around spending all our money on things that we don't benefit from much. They'll tell you we do. They'll tell you want to sleep under a blanket of freedom, you got to pump up the military. You want to sleep in safety and security in your home? We need a wall on the southern border. Got to keep people out, right? I don't know. That's for you to decide. I personally think we can use a lot of our own resources for things that actually benefit us, and we would still have safety and security. Actually, I'm almost certain of that. So, yeah, that's what I had queued up for videos. Kind of don't have much else on that Yang UBI. I did want to briefly touch on just the idea that throughout this whole campaign season, everyone has been pointing fingers at Bernie Sanders and saying, you can't win. You're a socialist in America. Democratic socialism is different than socialism as people are trying to define it in the media and even in your personal workspace. As a democratic socialist, I firmly believe that individual can win the presidency because this is what people want. Look at Fox News now. Champ being some of the thought leaders on socialist ideas, saying we have to put money in people's hands. We have to give them economic relief. We have to provide for them adequate health services. All of a sudden, because a virus came and swept our nation, you have a clarity. You felt this way the whole time. It's just that you were part, and I say you as Fox News and all these people who are against it. They know that it's the right thing to do. They just don't want to share. There's so much to go around. There's so many resources, and we're already paying. We already are all paying into it. But now that they can't deny that people around them are hurting, now they want to start giving people what they want because they don't want their economy to fall. Again, it goes back to the politicians with the stock market. They have more to gain by helping us now than they did before. That's their only motivation, self-interest. Again, do your best to think about others before you think of yourself. And the only reason they're thinking about you right now is because if the economy falls and you can't go to work, they don't get their Amazon packages, they don't get their stock price bump, they don't get their profit. That's how this works for these people. They don't care about you. These are millionaires. All these people on TV that I showed you, they all have massive amounts of money in the bank. More than the average American. The average American has less than $1,000 in the bank. I believe it's 50%, 60% of Americans have less than $1,000 in the bank. And a $400 emergency bill would destroy over half the families in our nation. That's a fact. And I'm not saying that because I know a lot of you listening, you're part of that, right? And we're not knocking anyone for not having the resources available to them. What I'm trying to do is open your consciousness to why things are the way they are and what we can do in the future to change them. And one of those things is to start holding our government officials accountable for their actions, not only during times of crises, but all the time. You're our leaders all the time. So yes, now is the time for us to start demanding the things that we need. Some people want $1,000 a month. Some people want $2,000. Doesn't matter. People need it. People need economic stimulus and continuous stimulus. We have one part of our economy that the business side that is only driven by profits to shareholders. And so their only debt is to the shareholders. So they'll do whatever it takes to increase profitability of whatever company that they're running. There's nothing in there about employees. There's nothing in there about managers. There's nothing in there about community. There's nothing in there about the environment. Nothing. Nothing in there about their suppliers. Nothing. Only about the shareholders. When you only think about yourself, you don't do anything beneficial for others. We have to change the way our system works, and we have to demand that you can't put profits over people. So we have businesses who all they do is fine-tune processes to get the most efficient, maximize efficiency and maximize returns and output. Andrew Yang was saying that is leading to massive amounts of automation, which is going to lead to jobs being lost by humans. Things that humans can do, not everything, but a lot of things that we do can be automated, robots, and that's what's already happening. Look at the auto industry and even manufacturing of certain consumer electronics. What are we going to do? How are we going to take care? How are people going to take care of themselves if there's nothing for them to do? So that's the idea for UBI. So I hope that in this time, we can take that mentality, everything that we're going through now, like all of a sudden we want to share and help each other and do the right thing. I hope that after this is done, like I said, that we keep that same mentality. So like I said, I just find it really, really ironic that everyone was crying foul for socialism. America will never be socialist. That now all of a sudden we're starting to see shit. We've been democratic socialists this whole time. Damn right we have been. Damn right. Post World War II, when certain policies were enacted that brought our nation back, FDR, come on, man. Like, the only reason why we are what we are, well, not the only reason, but a lot of the reason why we are now is because of the actions that were taken when, after the Great Depression and World War II and all that stuff. So, I would like for everyone to kind of really think about the underlying things that have kept our country moving for so long, the underlying social safety nets, right? Anytime you in your entire life have ever needed something, I hope that there was something there that helped you out, that was some form of social safety net. And I'm not saying that they're all perfect, and I think that's the idea about this. Like, we do need to fix Social Security. We do need to fix Medicare. We do need to fix our education system, right? Yeah, you can get a Pell Grant now, right, for a couple grand to go to community college, but what happens after that? Right? You either take out a massive student loan or you're born rich. You only got two choices, right? And yes, there are some people, awesome people who worked full-time and went to school, right? But I'm pretty sure that their tuition was not, incredibly large, right? That's a whole nother discussion as to why schools charge what they charge and all that good stuff. But I think we've already always wanted these democratic socialist safety nets. We already have some in place, and I think it's time to start talking about what we've already been doing right and how to expand on those things. Instead of saying, Denmark, we should be like Denmark. No. We should be like ourselves. We're already this thing. Let's just really do it and stop lying to ourselves and bring everyone else into the party. So yeah, that's all I have today. You got anything else, Victor?
I think we can go back to the Corona site, see how that's doing.
That's why it takes two. Yeah, so, okay, like we said at the beginning, check the coronavirus numbers. I wanted to refresh. I got the numbers here from when we started this. So what's that refresh look like? Hit refresh on that page. Control R, or, yeah, you got it. Cool. Bam. From 280. Okay. Total confirmed cases global. We went from let me get the little calculator out here. We went from, go back a little bit right here. All right. We went from 287,379 to 303,632. So how long have we been on? About an hour? Hour and a half? Can you see that or no? So exactly in exactly 1 hour, we have gone up 16,253 confirmed cases. In 1 hour, 16,253 confirmed cases we've gone up. That's worldwide. Let's see the United States. So United States, we started at 19,459. What was where are we at now? Was that 25? I see it. That's crazy. In 1 hour. That's fine. In 1 hour, we've gone from 19,459 cases in the United States to, what was it again? 23,149, which in just 1 hour, the change is 3,690 cases. So over the past hour in the United States alone, we've gone up 3,690 confirmed cases. So again, this is all data that comes from the government. This is just, these are the numbers coming in as we get them. That number is going to exponentially rise. Like, again, whatever you believe, hoax, not real, whatever. To be honest, I haven't met anyone who has it yet either, but that doesn't mean that it's not out there, right? So protect yourself, wash your hands, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're going to be doing this every Saturday from 3 to 5-ish, depending on how long we decide to go. So I want to say thank you for everyone tuning in. I appreciate it. Hector appreciates it. And we'll catch you guys next time. So thank you.